So in large scale vessels, we also have further classification. Starting off with the conventional one, their sizes ranges between 130 to 170,000 cubic meter. If we talk about Q flexes, their capacity range between 210 to 217,000 cubic meter. And if we talk about the large scale vessels, the highest volume that those vessels handle, these are Q max vessels, which can handle the capacity from 233,000 cubic meter to 266,000 cubic meter. So if we talk about FSRU market, so there are roughly 55 FSRUs that are in the market or under fabrication. As far as the Gignan report 2024 is concerned, 47 have been deployed, 4 are waiting for their deployment or are being used as LNG carrier, and 3 are under construction. So we expect, according to the new report, that by 2024, we will probably have 2 vessels in the market, and then one vessel would come online by 2027. Okay. So if we talk about the regasification plants, normally 2 types of plants, we all know. One type is onshore and other is FSRU based terminals. So onshore plants typically have a size of 200 cubic meter with the investment ranging between $600 to $800 million. They are more strategic in nature. People want to have those plants because they are also critical to have the strategic storage of gas for the country. And that's why people are more focused towards the onshore based plant. If we talk about FSRU plants, they have their own importance. They are quick to establish. Their normal capex ranges between $150,000 to $150 million to $200 million. And they are quick to establish. So we have in Pakistan 2 FSRUs that are working there since our FSRU is working there since 2015, and then we have another terminal, PGPC terminal, which is working since 2017. So at this moment, we do not have any onshore strategic asset available with us. I think in days to come, we would need more gas, and for that, we will have to have onshore strategic asset in the country. If we talk about the regasification market, there are 5 leaders in this market, mainly Japan, Korea, China, Spain, and US as well. I think in the new report that established by Gignell, now we can see India as well in this list. So India is coming up with more terminals. I believe they already have established 7 terminals, and they are coming up with 8 terminals. So probably we'll see more growth in this specific area as far as South Asia is concerned. If we talk about China, according to the data, they are coming up with 13 new terminals. They are expanding 19 terminals that they already have. And the number says that they are expanding to 126 million ton only in the years of 2025-26. So huge consumption is coming up in China. If we talk about Europe, obviously after Ukraine war, Europe is mainly dependent on FSRU based regasification. Only Germany, they have established 6 FSRUs in last 2 years. So huge growth for FSRUs as well. So I'll briefly talk about the innovations that are happening in this canvas. One is the electrified hybrid LNG carrier. that is right now in design phase. So 3 companies are working in this area. Shell, CSSC, and Warsla are working together on this model, which would be less efficient, which would be more efficient, which would have less emissions, and it would be very economical for LNG carrier holders as well. So they are right now working on this design. It would have a capacity of, I believe, 185,000 cubic meter, and they are targeting to conclude that project by 2028. So this would be a good addition as far as LNG carrier market is concerned. Sorry? Because this vessel can handle dual fuel. That's why it can handle LNG as well. So that's why they are saying it hybrid. They are working on it. I'm not sure about other fuels, so I'll come back to you later. I don't have right now answer for that. Okay, so till now we have talked about QMAX, but now there is another type of vessel that is coming up, which we call Global Max. This vessel has unique features about anti-collision. It has special characteristic with respect to hull strength, and it would have better containment system. But the key part is it would have a capacity of 271,000 cubic meter. So the vessels that we have till date has a capacity of 266,000 cubic meter. But in this case, this would have a capacity of 271,000 cubic meter. So Qatar has already ordered 8 vessels with this category, and I think in days to come we'll see those in motion as well. So this is a FSRU which is being worked by 2 companies, VTTI and Hogue. This we call adaptable FSRU. It can handle both LNG and ammonia. As you know that people are now moving towards ammonia as well, especially in Japan, Korea, and Europe. And this vessel would provide them flexibility to use either ammonia or urea, ammonia and LNG at different time frames. So this is, I think, this is an advanced stage, and what they are expecting, they are expecting to have it by 2027. And last but not least, I'll talk about LNG as transport fuel. A lot of investments are happening, a lot of development is happening in this front. China, Europe, and US have already crossed the line, and they are already into this business. If we talk about the market size at this moment, this LNG based fuel has a market of $1.2 billion. And what we are expecting, this would increase to $4 billion by 2030. So for Pakistan, I think there is a huge potential to work around this area, and we can learn from the developed countries in this specific field. Only in China, what they're expecting to have the consumption of 38 million ton per annum if we talk about LNG trucking by 2026. So one can understand the potential that we have in this area. These vehicles are more efficient, and their emissions as far as SOx and NOx are concerned are very minimal. So as far as environment is concerned, these vehicles are eco-friendly, and I think the way world is moving towards sustainability, this LNG trucking would be a key element as far as our overall vehicle environment is concerned. The last, Indians are also working very aggressively in this area, and GAIL, a big company in India, has already planned to invest $78 million only in this specific area. So I think we touched upon it in previous presentation as well, and I believe that with OGRA we'll work together and probably have more understanding in this specific field, which will help us in overall utilization of LNG in a better way. Thank you.
Thank you, Anik sir. The next presentation is from PGPCL. From PGPCL, we have Mr. Iqbal Zaid Ahmed. Mr. Ahmed is a well-known businessman and a philanthropist. He has undertaken innovative projects in energy sector, including the country's largest LNG import and regasification terminal at Port Qasim. JJBL is another venture of his group of companies, which is the Pakistan's largest private sector producer of LPG. Moreover, Lube Gas and Mehran LPG are the LPG marketing companies of the group with large storage and consumer base. In addition, he is also setting up a virtual pipeline project in Gwadar, which is with an estimated cost of $200 million and is entirely to be funded by the company's own sources without any commitment from the government. Topic for this presentation is LNG terminal optimization, enhancing efficiency, capacity and reliability, advantages of LNG import by private sector, future demand supply of LNG globally and its impact on Pakistan. Sir.
Thank you.
Just. How do I use it? आपको ये करके देते हैं.
Somebody will come here.
जी मैं आपको. Just give me a minute. ये है. आप इसमें सिस्टम में थोड़ा सा इशू है. आप जैसे कहेंगे ना वहां से स्लाइड ये चेंज करता जाएगा.
खुद चेंज कर लेंगे.
हाँ. आप यहाँ से देख के बोलते जाओ.
बोलिए. Chairman Saab, members of OGRA, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to speak to this August gathering. I will not waste your time by going into facts and figures of what the background to LNG is. This audience is too well educated in LNG, in other words. What I will talk to you is about policy. I had prepared a presentation, but I think it is redundant in view of what I've heard. First of all, I must compliment OGRA on the selection of the title of the seminar, Unlocking the Potential of LNG in Pakistan, which means that the potential is very securely locked at present. This is evident from the fact that since 2017, no new LNG terminal has come into existence. Why? And what have you done to these two existing terminals which are there? The first terminal, set up by a highly respectable company, you subject it to 6.5 years of torture through NAB. The second terminal, for personal reasons, you terminate the contract. It is in abeyance for 3.5 years. After that, it takes international arbitration to restore the contract. This is what you do to the investors in the sector. There are 5 new terminal licenses which have been issued. All 5 are highly credible companies who are asking for nothing from the government but the permission to go ahead. And the approvals of the sector itself, which is the inclusion of the cryogenic bowsers, etc., and their work-related issues. These licenses have been issued for more than 2 years. Why is no terminal coming up? Nobody is asking the government for any money. Nobody is asking government for any guarantees. These are the issues which OGRA should look into. OGRA should become the catalyst of getting these investments off the ground. Matters are pending in FPR. There is
according to policy, a purported LNG task force, which is supposed to meet on the request for every project. These 5 projects are held up. Why is the LNG task force not meeting? Ogra needs to take it up. Ogra needs to be more aggressive. If there is to be a demand on LNG, it should only be generated through private sector. It is not public sector's business to import and sell LNG. That is leading to creation of serious circular debt. Even today, if you allow private sector to bring in LNG cargoes and sell it to private sector, it will not only control, but actually help in reduction of circular debt. But it is not happening. The hold of the bureaucracy is like a stranglehold. They do not allow anything to happen, and nothing will happen. Jokio Saab gave a very good example that a decision to bifurcate sui companies was taken in 2007. It is 21 years ago. Nobody has the courage to do anything about it. I hope that this government, which has taken a decision to privatize PIA, has had the courage to take the decision to privatize PIA, can also take a decision, a courageous decision to bifurcate the sui companies. There are huge losses. Who is responsible for these losses? Why is it that everything is just put under the carpet for the next government, for the next officer, for the next person to solve? We need to move on, sir. If this country is to move, we need to move on. We want to move beyond this imaginary projects of TAPI and IP and LPG pipelines. And we need to be on the ground, what our capacity is, where we need to go, and let private sector take this decision. This is their money. In 2007, we were working with Accelerate. We had the president of Accelerate, a lady who's in fact called the pioneer of FSRUs, Kathleen Eisbrenner. I invited her to Pakistan and took her to meet General Musharraf. At that meeting was also Mr. Shaukat Aziz. He was the then Prime Minister. And they said that there was also some bureaucrats present, and they said that the concept of bringing gas to a country in large volumes on a ship did not exist. They were not even prepared to mentally think about the possibility that this could happen, but it did happen. We got the license at that time, later blocked for various reasons, but somebody has to have the vision to move on. My only request, sir, to everybody in the government, to OGRA in particular, is to move beyond the traditional way of thinking. Allow the private sector to unlock the potential of LNG. If they fail, it is their money. Let them sink it. These 5 projects which are there are very credible projects. LNG virtual pipeline is the need of the day. Another issue which OGRA can play a role is that too much emphasis is being placed on Port Qasim. Even the 3rd terminal that we talk of is Port Qasim. Very good. They can set up another 2. But from a strategic reason, you need to look at Gwadar and you need to look at Kalti Bandar seriously. Because we need to have an option to Port Qasim, alternative to Port Qasim. Somebody needs to look at this. I had the honor of bringing this to the notice of the President of Pakistan. I brought it to the notice of the Chief Minister Sindh, and both because Chief Minister Sindh, because they claim that KT Bandar development is within their purview and not within the federal government purview. Be that as it may, the issue is that somebody needs to take cognizance and move on and develop those projects. There is, again, private sector interest. Whatever is the bidding process, do it. But please do it. Don't create hurdles. If $1 billion worth of investment is coming into the country, welcome it. Don't stop it. These are the real issues which we need to address. Your problem should not be demand and supply. Your problem should not be the source of supply. Your problem should not be the technology. Your problem should be the end product, and the private sector taking the risk in bringing it and selling it in private sector and giving you the price advantage. I see every day advertisements from EPMA, reduction of gas price. So all of you here are highly knowledgeable people. And we all know at what price is LNG available in the market today. Excuse me, why is the government not taking advantage of it? What would happen if private sector brings in cargoes at a cheaper price without creating circular debt and gives it at a cheaper price to the end consumer? Will it harm the country? Will it hurt somebody? One committee to another committee to another committee to you can play these games forever. Like I was very impressed by Jokio Saab's figures that since 2007, this decision to bifurcate the distribution and transmission network of three companies is there, but where is the action? So this is why the country is where it is. We have the potential. In today's world, and despite all the problems, despite all the challenges and the bad press of Pakistan, there are people abroad who are willing to take the risk and invest because they trust in individual companies. Why are they being stopped? For one reason or the other. There should be one window operation headed by OGRA. OGRA should be the ultimate authority for anything to do with gas or oil. No FPR, no Ministry of Petroleum, no DG Gas, no DG Liquid Gas. They're all frivolous authorities. They are irrelevant to the discussion. There should be a one-window operation, and I'm going to write about this to the government. Of course, it will get discarded. Nobody will listen. But I'm going to bring it on record. That is why OGRA was created. It should be a one-window operation. If I want to set up an LNG terminal, I go to OGRA and apply. It is for OGRA to get permissions from everybody else, whether it is from PQA or it is KT Bandar or it is Gwadar or somebody else. Let OGRA do the running around. Why should I, as an investor, have to go from pillar to post to set up a LNG terminal today? I need 26 no objection certificates. And excuse me, sir, for saying that at each energy certificate, according using the words of Malik Riaz, you have to put wheels under the file. This is where we are. Have the courage to take decisions, please. If you want to improve this country, if you want to bring it in this in the 21st century, please take the courage. Let people like, if they have created, otherwise disband OGRA, disband DG Gas, disband DG Liquid Gas. What are they there for? They should be made responsible for their sector and accountable for that sector. Give them full, unfettered responsibility. Let them either make good decisions or bad decisions, but let them make decisions. At present, we get no decisions. So the title of unlocking the potential of LNG in Pakistan is a very apt title. The question is, who is going to unlock it? My request is that the message that all of us from this meeting, which we should convey to whoever is the decision maker, is please allow the regulator the freedom to regulate. Do not tie their hands behind their back. Give them full authority and full support and timeline them. If I apply for a license to set up a LNG terminal, there should be a window, whatever is the agreed window, whether it is 30 days, 50 days, 90 days, but within that period, they will have to give me a yes or no. No indefinite holding. And all the NOCs should be obtained through OGRA in a given timeline. Nobody should be allowed to hide behind these things. There is a lot which can be done. LNG today is affordable. It is becoming even more affordable. It is a transition fuel. In 20 years, you will be out of LNG and into something else. Everybody calls it a transition fuel, but it is perhaps the only transition fuel that is available to Pakistan. We can exploit it, we can use it to our advantage, or we can hold seminars like this, discuss it, go home and forget it. So, Chairman Sahab, I request you to rise to the challenge, your organization to rise to the challenge, and take everybody to task. exercise your authority, sir. You have the authority. Please exercise. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Iqbal Zaid Ahmed Saab. While seeing all the players in the LNG supply chain, starting from the policymakers, regulator to the distributors, I have a one poem to offer. तुम आ गए हो तो कुछ चांदनी बातें हो जाएं, वरना जमीन पे चांद कहाँ रोज रोज निकलते हैं. Now the next presenter is Mr. Ansar Ahmed Khan from Energas. Mr. Ansar Ahmed Khan has a master's in business administration from London, as well as from the IB Karachi. He has over 25 years of experience in oil and gas sector, and specifically global experience in LNG projects spanning over a decade and a half in the global LNG market. He also serves on the board of directors of Lucky Commodities. Over to Mr. Ansar Ahmed Khan.
Thank you, sir.
जिस तरफ पॉइंट किया करे तो वहां से ये अच्छा नहीं वो चेंज करने के लिए यहाँ से बस सिर्फ आपके लिए हम कॉल वहां से वो चेंज कर रहे आप उस तरफ पॉइंट करके ये चेंज कर दिया
वहाँ पर चेंज करना
जी जी
इससे नहीं होगा
वो चला
यहाँ से भी है?
नहीं इसके आपके लिए सर
ये होना Assalamu alaikum ji. Good morning to everyone. Unlocking the potential of LNG. If there were three words that I could put in and encapsulate everything to unlock the potential, that would be ensuring gas liberalization. The presentation I'm going to make is primarily going to be on the same lines. I'm going to talk about my experiences in Pakistan and outside Pakistan and how we can benefit from this. Range में नहीं है? Challenge. Oh, about the first slide. So I won't go over this because I think that's been covered amply in the beginning. But to try and just give you a picture of what's happening, events have changed the LNG industry over decades. The previous ones that changed the LNG industry were COVID and the conflict in Ukraine. COVID, we bought gas at about $2. The same gas after the Russian conflict went to about $80 to $83. I think we bought the most expensive cargo as well at $30. So these swings have happened. However, what the big things that happened, COVID stopped investment in LNG production. The conflict has increased the amount of gas that's going to come in. So there's a flood of gas going to come in. We believe it's going to come in 25, 26, 27. It's there. And it's coming at a time when the Western civilization, Western organizations primarily are working towards the green agenda. So the reason I bring this up is I want to then, as I progress in my presentation, I'll talk about how the challenges we face are going to be the challenges that we will have to resolve. So if you look at the chart on your right, so basically it's a bubble chart. So we speak about infrastructure. So what are the infrastructural constraints that Pakistan has? Pakistan has limited line pack, which is the pipeline. Pakistan has no underground storage. Pakistan has limited LNG terminal space. Pakistan's LNG contracts are take-or-pay contracts, and there are regulatory challenges. So if you look at the chart, the bigger the bubble, that's where you store the gas. You don't store gas in the line pack. You don't store gas in the LNG terminals. The LNG is already 600 times compressed. We need to invest in storage facilities. These are underground reservoirs, underground storages. To give you an example, the storage in UK is roughly about 80 days. In Pakistan, our storage is less than 5 days because you've got two LNG terminals that have 6 cargoes coming in. So you have a forced send out of 5 days that you must ensure. If you don't have a line pack, if you don't have underground storage, वही होगा जो आजकल हो रहा है. You'll have to shut down your production of gas fields. You'll have to be ready for take-or-pay damages, demurrages, and so on. There were several, and we've had these issues in the past as well, where we had to pay demurrages. We have a tidal port. So global capacity utilization around the world is about 40%, no more. And the reason is because देखिए आपका terminal जो लग रहा है ना, the terminal slot will cost you about $1 million, $1.5 million, or $2 million. The LNG that comes in is about $30 million, maybe 40, maybe 50, and it's on take or pay. So these are the things that we have to understand. So asset integrity and asset utilization is extremely important. So what are the key challenges that we face? So as I said, we have hardly any contractual flexibility in our long-term contracts. Take or pay. You have about $3 billion of gas coming in. Don't take one cargo. It could range anywhere between $3 million to 30 on your take or pay damages. 30 doesn't really happen, but just to give you numbers. Tidal constraints at the port. You miss a tide, you're stuck for another 12 or 24 hours. Overcommitment on LNG terminals. No onshore LNG storage, as I think my colleague from Engro mentioned. No underground gas storage. And we have our friends from SUI. They keep on talking about line pack. We don't really have an excess line pack. And we're going through the same thing these days. So what does Pakistan need to do? Encourage investment. I think Bal Saab spoke about it. Open the market up, liberalize the market, allow people to come in. The market will take care of itself. You only have about 300,000 tons of LNG physical storage. That's too less. If you look at the numbers, Pakistan is possibly the 8th or the 9th largest importer. And when it comes to the storage facilities that we have, we're probably about 16 or 17. It's a disaster waiting to happen. We need more pipelines. The new terminals that haven't come in, I think we've been fighting over it. There's been push and pull primarily because of lack of pipeline access. You've got to invest in pipeline access. Operational excellence. Focus should be on infrastructure integrity, ensuring you have maximum utilization, but at the same time, making sure it doesn't disrupt, like we have in the case of the pipeline these days. So, as I mentioned, we have a 4 send out of 5 days. Choke line pack. The cost of failures of this infrastructure, the commercial aspect, is not going to be in a few $100,000. It's in millions, and potentially, God forbid, it could be a lot higher. What do we need to do? There's a short-term solution, there's a long-term solution. So we'll talk about those in the presentation. So the TPA regime, I think that's good work done by the OGRA authorities. I think we need to push it. And what I'll do in the presentation is I'll give you the example of UK, how UK went about and did this. Longer term solution, liberalization. You've just got to open the market. The government's role should be regulation policy. The government's role is not to do business. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We aren't going to have different results. So very simply, kahan pe hain hum aur kahan pe jana hai? We are a government monopoly. Whether it's supply of gas, whether it's storage of gas, where do we have to go? You need to have domestic people come in. You have to have multiple players come in. The 35% policy that you guys have bought in, I think it's a great policy. Because for any market, the first thing you need to do is you need to have multiple buyers and multiple suppliers. Encourage that. Encourage more people coming in. Regulate them. Absolutely. But you need to bring in more people. Do work on regional pipelines. Do work on LNG terminals. Do work on everything. You see, the challenge is not all of these will bear fruit. Continue working on them. Continue getting the private sector getting involved. Let them do this for you. More the merrier. Multiple LNG supply terminals. We need 3 more. How do we encourage them? Transmission network. SUI control. We need to have a national grid of the UK equivalent. And I'll talk about that as we go in the future. And I'll talk about how that got done. Distribution network, again, we have a monopoly right now. We have 7 marketing licenses. I think only 1 or 2 are working right now. There was one deal that was done, and I think that's an encouraging thing, but we need to have more distribution companies coming in as well. So we'll talk about gas liberalization, and it's very similar to what is happening in Pakistan as well. So the UK government had the same issue. There was British Gas, and British Gas had the same issues that we complain in the private sector about, same issues. So the government said, what are the key issues? Why do we want to change this? And the government thought maybe unbundling or maybe gas liberalization is the answer. So what did they say? Well, they believed in promoting efficiencies through increasing competition. They had the same issues: inefficiencies, losses. A lot of the industrial users complained about the incumbent, British Gas, like we do about Suez all the time. So very similar. Same issues. They have too much power, difficult to negotiate with them, an inability to get the same level of customer service that we would expect in the fully liberalized market. And there was extreme pressure from gas producers. They wanted to sell to different buyers. Same in our case as well. For the E&P companies over here would want to see more buyers. There's issues of liquidity, there are issues of credit. So the more people you bring in, the merrier. So let the market bloom. And I was speaking to a friend when I was driving over here, and he was absolutely correct when he said, the challenge is not really there is no gas production. The challenge is we're not encouraging enough gas production. I met a few E&P companies. I think PPR has to invest $75 million. They won't invest because they're not getting the cash. Other E&P companies, same issues. So you've got to bring in more people. So what happened in the UK? The first thing they did was the privatization of British Gas. That's what they did. Something that we've spoken about, something I think is the IMF program. We've been trying to do this, I think, for a dozen plus years. The challenge is implementation. And how do we get this sorted? They passed a Gas Act in 1986. The cornerstone of the Gas Act was clearly going to be unbundling of the companies. So unbundling would mean you would strip out the transmission side and the distribution side. In the case of Pakistan, for example, you need an equivalent of a national grid, which is the government controls the transmission system, allows marketing license holders to start distributing gas. Now, when it comes to policy, when it comes to the work that needs to be done, Pakistan has done all the paperwork. We've got marketing license, we've got companies who've got marketing licenses. We haven't yet been able to unbundle the companies. I think if you look at all examples of liberalized markets, you'll have to unbundle the monopolies. You'll have to open up the market, which was the creation of the national grid. Once you have a system where you have multiple buyers, multiple sellers, a system where you can encourage more people to come in, that's when you come into areas which are going to be extremely beneficial for the country. That's when you bring in the concept of a gas commodity market. And that's what happens. You have multiple buyers, you have multiple sellers, and that's when you start doing things that we've never done in Pakistan. For example, when LNG prices were at $2.5, or when oil prices go down, I think Pakistan, because of state bank regulations and otherwise, we can't hedge the product. We can't buy forward. This is not possible unless and until you have your own commodity exchange. And the challenges that the state bank has are understandable, cash flow issues, foreign exchange, but you've got to have that set up in Pakistan. If you look at the global LNG industry, there are multiple gas hubs. I'm not saying you need to create a Pakistan gas hub. It'll have to get there. It may be a gas hub that's a regional gas hub, like the JKM, Japan Korea marker. In the UK, you have NBP, TTF for other parts of Europe, Henry Hub in the US along with the others. So you need to go towards that, but you can't really do that if you don't have a liberalized market. And that's extremely important. And as we said, what UK did was there was market liberalization, increased competition, levels of service improved, issues which are similar to us, circular and otherwise. You've got to give people a choice. If the government doesn't give people a choice, the government will be blackmailed for subsidies and otherwise. Allow people the choice. If you don't allow people the choice by multiple buyers and sellers, the issues will never get resolved. And that's the issue. They went for regulation, creation of Ofgem, which is the equivalent of the NEPRA and the OGRAs, which would ensure that there were no unfair practices. We've got all that set up. I think the challenge in Pakistan, of course, is going to be implementation and pushing this forward. We have our own idiosyncrasies, we have our own issues, but I think that's a hump we need to cross. Integration with the European markets. So the European market right now is a single market. Whether you sell gas in UK, whether you sell gas in Netherlands, you're almost getting the same price. Why can't we do that with our regional? Why can't we do that with our regional neighbors? Why can't we do it? Otherwise, it can all happen. But we've got to have it set up. And I tell you, it's not that difficult. Pakistan's got everything set up. We've got multiple marketing licenses given. We've got a potential, we've got a large economy, a large base of usage. We've just got to make sure that we encourage and we breathe life into a system by bringing in new ideas. I think Pakistan is one of those countries जो हम लोग 1960 में अभी भी रह रहे हैं. Our laws are 660s. We talk about going to the moon, but I tell you, majority of the things we do are still based in 1980s, 1990s, and we haven't even reached 2000, let alone 2021. I think we need to encourage that. We need to use technology. Line losses, are we using IoT? Are there other areas? Are we using the SCADA properly? So lots of things that can be done, but I think we need to push forward for that. So coming to the last slide, because I'm good on time here. So on the last slide, I'm very simple. And I'm repeating myself, lots of things that we can do. The short-term solution, allow more people to come and supply gas, whether it's ENP, whether it's LNG, allow people to come in, allow them to sell to the market. This concept of they'll take away our customers. They won't take our customers, these are all our customers. OGRA is a regulatory authority, not for the monopolies only, for the consumers. The government of Pakistan is not only the government of Pakistan for the monopolies, it's for the entire nation. We've done this for the banking sector. We've done this for the telecom sector. We've done this from the aviation sector. The results have been brilliant. We need to do this for the oil and gas sector as well. Lots of efficiencies to be achieved. Push the TPA. Make decisions, push it. We'll make mistakes. So what? We'll sort it out. Incentivize investment. So I've been trying to set up this LNG terminal for the last 7 years. 27 or 30 licenses. And within these 27 or 30 licenses, there are additional 20 and 30 licenses each. So we complicate things so much. And this is the reason why lots of folks just walk away. We've got to make it a lot more simpler. Bring people in, incentivize, and this oft dialogue in meetings, the private sector will make money. Any investor wants to make money. No investor will come in Pakistan if there's no money. We need to control, we need to regulate, but we need to incentivize people. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a challenge. So what do we need to do? I think we need to liberalize the market by first unbundling the monopolies. For the LNG sector and the private sector to operate, if you don't have a transmission network unbundled, it ain't gonna work. It hasn't worked anywhere else. It ain't gonna work in Pakistan. You've got to unbundle. The transmission network will give it to the Suez, let them run it. Fair enough, but they don't have the distribution. There needs to be separation of powers. It needs to be free of conflict of interest. The biggest challenge that we face when we talk to our friends and our brothers in Suez is they don't trust us and we don't trust them because there's a genuine conflict of interest. You need to remove the conflict. You need to unbundle. आपको IMF ने भी कहा हुआ है, आपको वर्ल्ड बैंक ने भी कहा हुआ है, सबको कहा हुआ है. वो कहा इसलिए हुआ है because that's the way it works. Allow multiple buyers and sellers, as I mentioned. We are not going to get to a commodity exchange tomorrow. We're not going to get there maybe day after, but perhaps in a month, perhaps in 2 months. What we need to do is we need to have the basics ready right now. We need to have a policy. We need to aim for the stars and maybe land among the clouds, but we need to start getting there. And I tell you, the benefits of the commodity exchange are going to be immeasurable for Pakistan. More importantly, you can take advantage of opportunities when the market fluctuates. Oil 40 का होगा, private sector ले सकता है. Allow us to have a market commodity exchange. State Bank needs to allow us to go outside Pakistan and potentially buy the paper. It's good for Pakistan. In the end, as everyone has mentioned, I think the government's role should be policy, incentive the private sector, regulation, and regional integration. The private sector can't do these 3 things. So with that said, I think I'd like to thank OGRA for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Chairman Saab, for inviting me. Thank you, Imran Saab, for the time. And with that, I wish all of you a good conference and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ansar Saab. Excellent presentation. Now, the next presentation is from LNG Easy. From LNG Easy, we have Mr. Hee Yi Yong, who has flown specially from Singapore. Mr. Yong holds business administration from Norwegian School of Economics, Norway, and is a Singaporean national. He's the founder director of LNG Easy Private Limited Singapore, the holding company of LNG Easy Private Limited. LNG Easy Singapore is the pioneer in the LNG virtual pipeline industry with operations in Vietnam, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Malaysia. We also have Mr. Yasir Hamid. He's online. Yasir is a successful entrepreneur, a project developer with a long association with the oil and gas sector in Pakistan. He's a graduate in international business management from Regent Business School, London. Moreover, we also have Mr. Fahad and Brigadier Umar, who are also representing LNG Easy. Now I'll request Mr. Yong to kindly come on stage and give the presentation.
Okay, that one. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again. Last time I was here was in Karachi, July last year, when we were giving the construction license. Thank you for the good regulators of Pakistan, for giving us a chance to serve this very potential country. Yeah, so we have many big groups here, who are doing big and wonderful projects for Pakistan. So that's very good. We are trying to serve Pakistan in another way, a little bit low capex and a quick time to market. And so allow me to start. Yeah, so basically, we can think of LNG in 2 ways. The traditional way is to think of LNG as a replacement of gas. So like typical country would be like Pakistan, Bangladesh, gas countries, when the domestic gas is run out, you bring in LNG to kind of fill the gap. Not unlike Europe.
after the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. The Europeans are making, big efforts to replace Russian pipeline gas imports with LNG, from the United States and elsewhere. So that's one way of looking at LNG as primary energy. LNG is regas immediately upon arrival and then distributed by a network of pipelines. So, that's this system has worked well for many countries, but of course there's another way to look at LNG as well. Yeah. So the second, so I just let me, the lower part of the graph, where LNG is conceived as a product. What I mean by that is, when you make LNG, 13% of the gas is used to liquefy it. And then there's a cost of export terminal, receiving terminal, and ocean shipping. So, you add something like $5.50 to $6 to the cost of gas. So, we can also distribute LNG as a product, like LPG. And this is where I think the mainland Chinese had most success. So I will explain a bit more in detail. So the LNG virtual pipeline, or we can call it truck LNG, or we can call it retail LNG, basically can be a very good complement to the pipeline gas sector. So as primary energy, gas is used to generate power, or it is used to as a feedstock to make fertilizer. But when LNG is used as a product, it competes or it replaces liquid fuel. And what are liquid fuels? LPG is a liquid fuel. Furnace oil is a liquid fuel. Diesel, gasoline, all these are liquid fuels. So, and these two sectors had two different economics. We won't go into much detail of that, but I think, suffice to say that we can serve a country from both angles, and they can work complementary to each other. Yeah. So, if you look at the LNG virtual pipeline, it is kind of new in, let's say, in Pakistan, but it's actually not new in many countries, right? Because, like Tesla, they are a rocket launching facility. It is using, truck LNG as a fuel. It is in Australia to some extent. There's a small scale truck LNG sector in Japan. But it is in China where, this sector has kind of developed in a very large scale. Our figure is 30 million tons by truck in China, and then they go to everywhere in the country without any restrictions for pipeline access. So, I think December 2020, the first time we came to Pakistan, and I recognized instantly that Pakistan would be a very good virtual pipeline country. Because, if you look at the geography of the country, its ports are in the south, consuming areas are, Lahore, Islamabad in the north, and everything is being trucked, truck for export, truck for import, from the seaports, from, inland to seaport and vice versa. So, and the roads are good here. So, therefore, this is a sector that, we recognize a very large scale virtual pipeline business can be developed for LNG. Yeah, so I mean, there's some other advantages, right? So one of the advantages is that, if we use ISO container, the boil of gas can be kept in a tank for up to 100 days because, before the safety valves trigger. So you don't really have a, UFG problem. And then, I think, one of the Anglo gentlemen mentioned earlier, the LNG as a transport fuel sector has a, very vast potential, right? From two angles, one is the CNG sector. I think, Pakistan used to have a very big CNG sector. Now, because of reduction in domestic gas, the sector is kind of, going down. With LNG, maybe there's a chance to revive this sector so that passenger car owners had a chance to use a cheaper fuel than gasoline, for example. Yeah, too many words. I jump to the pictures. Yeah. So, I think the battle for virtual pipeline is not really to build a very expensive regas terminal. Either it's a, on land terminal or a FSRU. I think the challenge really is the bulk of the hard work is in the country, infrastructure. How we can spread it out and then, provide access to all the consumers. So here are some of the pictures that, of, how the Chinese have done it. So this is to connect the rural areas, which does not really have pipeline access. So everything is, ISO container based, and then from there you pull out mini grids. Yeah. So, people always tend to think of LNG as a bulk product, wholesale product, because you buy a ship, 2.5 million MMBTU, you regas the whole thing, and then, you dump into the pipeline. But, the reality is LNG can be broken bulk into very small quantities, as the pictures that are showing here. So the LNG cylinders are, as small as 80 liters. So, a restaurant can use it, a village can use it, collectively. Yeah, so, I mean, these are the regas infrastructures which we kind of need to build out in order to enable a consumption of LNG as a liquid fuel. So it looks, maybe it's not so familiar, right, in the context of Pakistan. However, it's very, very important to know that this is not different from LPG or, diesel for that matter, how the liquid fuels are distributed. If you look at the LPG distribution process, it normally starts with a VLGC, which is 82,000 cubic meter semi-refrigerated vessel, which is also cryogenic, by the way, minus 42 degree. Like LNG, LNG is minus 160, right? So, you had, of course, very large VLGC terminals to unload the cargo, but typically a VLGC goes through a brick bulk process through a ship-to-ship transfer at sea. So the smaller vessels can come, 5,000 cube, 7,000 cubic meter, can come to a shallow draft port in any country, any, underdeveloped country. And then the LPG would be filled into trucks, and then they would be transported on the road. And then at the customer side, typically you had an LPG storage tank. And then you had, if you had refrigerated LPG, you had regas. If you had pressurized LPG, you had a pressure reduction unit, just like CNG. So, this is new for Pakistan, but in other liquid fuels, you have done it. It's nothing simple, nothing very complicated and rocket science. I think all we need is a good regulator, set up good standards, safety standards to enable the rollout of this system. And I think I agree with many of the speakers before me. We are going into a era of LNG oversupply. And so the commodities of LNG will compete very favorably to LPG and other crude derivatives, diesel, gasoline, and so on. Because these things are, they had to kind of have minimum 25% refining margin over crude. So and we had so much, we are going to from 420 million tons of LNG to 650 million tons by 2030. So, we don't have that kind of growth in crude oil production. We do not have that kind of growth in LPG. So I think the commodity would be more and more attractive for this business model. Yeah, and then, finally, I think, there's a very large ESG angle to, rural gasification because, yeah, I mean, I know that, a lot of people in Pakistan still use firewood for cooking and so on, which is, deforestation, extremely bad for health and so on. So I think, we can, work side by side with the regulators to design a good system where we can, roll out or roll this out. Maybe some kind of private public partnership would be good. Yeah. So finally, I think some quick words on the LNG as a long range fuel. Yeah, as I say, when the first time I set foot on Pakistan, I saw the huge amount of trucks and long range buses going through the country. And yeah, I mean, Karachi to Islamabad, 1,400 kilometers or something like that. So, in China today, they had about 700,000 LNG fuel trucks. And, that's growing every month. The rule of thumb in China is one truck is about 3 tons of LNG. So if we convert 10%, 20% of the trucks and buses in Pakistan, all the consumers will win. I think the environment will win because of the lower, NOx and SOx emission. And then, that the fleet owners would also win because it would be much easier to manage LNG than diesel from a pilgrimage point of view. So here are just more pictures. I mean, they are not expensive. These things, I think, the Chinese trucks are $85,000 a piece, something like that. And they typically do not convert them. They just set a mandatory scrapping age of 10 years. So you just run it until the end of the economic life and so on. So, and, I mean, India is we now really trying a lot to develop, retail LNG. So here are some of the refueling stations. Yeah, I mean, obviously LNG can be used as a marine fuel. I mean, that we all know. So, but that's not the focus here. So, yeah, I mean, mining trucks. Obviously, Pakistan has a lot of new mining projects coming. That's an area that we think offers significant savings for the project developers of the mines. Yeah, I mean, in Europe, this is really, I mean, the Europeans had decided to have the zero emission for heavy duty trucking. So by 2030, the expectation is that most of the heavy duty trucks would be on LNG and bio LNG. So this is not only the Chinese phenomenon; it's all spread out. All the countries are trying to do it, and we are working really hard to be the kind of first company to try to implement this. And I hope we have some favors from in terms of approvals and all that. Yeah. So again, more infrastructure. So anyway, I mean, we brought a downstream distributor from China, today, so to understand the potential of the Pakistan market. So with that, I think I conclude the remarks. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yong. The next presentation is from LNG Flex. From LNG Flex, we have Mr. Shahid Kareem. Shahid Karim holds a Master's of Law degree in Petroleum Law and Policy from the University of Dundee, UK. He's a seasoned professional, having spent major part of his working life in British Petroleum, in addition to working for other international companies like Petrol, Daewoo, and Dew Resources. He is the lead for LNG Flex and is the CEO. He's also a board member of KPO GCL. We also have Mr. Asif Chughtai from LNG Flex. He is the CFO. He's a professional accountant and fellow member of various professional organizations. We also have Zia Siddiqui, project director of LNG Flex. Mr. Zia Siddiqui is a mechanical engineer and has a versatile international experience in petrochemical, marine, and mega EPC projects. This presentation will be given by Mr. Asif Chughtai and Mr. Zia Siddiqui. And the topic is virtual LNG prospects and market potential, challenges in private import of LNG. Please. वहां से वैसे तो वहां से होगा.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, everybody, and a very good afternoon. Thank you very much, Imran Sahab, for the brief introductions for the company officials. And I thank Mr. Chairman and the OGRA members for arranging a very good seminar on unlocking the potentials of the LNG in Pakistan. We have heard a lot of candid comments from a lot of people, and I think they all make sense that unless we come together and make a concerted effort together, we can overcome any problem that we are facing in the gas sector and its shortages. My talk today is only limited to the VLNG terminal that we are actually pursuing, and the prospects and market potential and challenges. These are the contents of my talk that I will be covering. I will be rushing through some of the slides as these are information for the presenters, and I will focus more on the prospects and the challenges of the VLNG, the terminals set up in Pakistan. The global virtual market is a reality for the VLNG. It comprises of the sectors. Imran sir, this is not moving from here.
This is just for your facilitation. You have
Okay.
to move it yourself.
All right.
This will be udhar aapko direct karna
All right.
padega.
Thank you very much. The global virtual pipeline market is basically a fact, and it is happening, except that Pakistan has not entered into this market so far. But better be late than never. Now is the chance that we should enter this market. The market actually is by fuel type and how it is transported, and what are the sectors it's serving, and also the region type. Expanding onto the prospects of the VLNG, the global trend is reflecting that is a healthy growth of about 10% on annual basis in the VLNG sector. This is primarily because of the minimum lead time and the lesser capex which is actually involved compared to a conventional LNG network. It also allows us flexibility and scalable investment. The main players of the VLNG, as so many speakers have pointed out, is China, and because of its massive energy demands, but as well as India is also coming up very fast in this sector. unlike Pakistan, we have the Indian market has presence of global LNG players like Shell and Exxon, where, for example, the Shell is collaborating with has a Hazira LNG terminal where they are now introducing the ISO tank filling facility to enter into the LNG market, whereas Exxon is collaborating with Indian Oil Corporation and the Chart Industries to do the same. We believe that the major sector that VLNG can serve is the transport sector. The going back. My next slide is regarding the three modes of LNG transportation, virtual LNG transportation from end to end as an end-to-end business proposal. The first that you see on the screen is basically a very simple proposal which involves loading of the pre-filled ISO tanks onto a container ship which arrives at a receiving terminal, and these ISO tank containers are directly unloaded onto the trucks and then transported to the end user. The second model that is being used is basically an LNGC FSU combination, where an LNGC is used both as an FSU at a receiving terminal, and the ISO tanks are filled directly from this FSU and transported to the end user. The last model that is LNG Flex is pursuing is actually having a separate FSU, which is permanently moved at a newly constructed berth. This FSU fills the ISO tanks through piping manifolds, and these trucks then move out to the end users. This allows us to store larger quantities of the LNG inside Pakistan and avoiding a risk of delays due to continued shipment if we are looking at the pre-filled container model. So, This is not working. इसकी बैटरी तो लो नहीं होगी, हो सकता है लैपटॉप से आ गया जी, ठीक है। आप नेक्स्ट स्लाइड के अंदर वो वहां से मैनुअली कर, चलिए ठीक है। So, right, thank you. So this brings us to a question that can LNG work for Pakistan? Although this slide actually had a transition built into it, but I think that you have uploaded the PDF version of the slide. But still, you know, the overall picture is that referring to the current situation of the supply and demand, the data has been extracted from Ministry of Energy Energy Yearbook of 2023. The supply currently, the indigenous supply stands at 0.32 BCFD, which is complemented by an imported LNG component of almost 1 million BCFD. On the other hand, the demand, the unconstrained demand is estimated at approximately 7 BCFD. So we have a difference of about 3 BCFD that needs to be actually filled. Before I can answer this question, also the answer is already appearing in front of you, which should not have been. But there are certain premises that we have to establish in order to answer the question. The premises are already appearing on the screen that the economic growth of the country should be around 5%. The Brent price should be averaging around $85 per barrel. As you know that the LNG price is pegged to the Brent crude. We understand that currently there are no significant gas discoveries either foreseen in near future, and as well as there are no new transmission lines for moving the RLNG molecules. The current regasification units are operating at their optimal. So considering these premises and the situation that I have shown you before, the VLNG has a potential to bridge some of the gap, but not all of it. Going further, if I look at the things from the perspective of an entrepreneur or a potential investor in Pakistan, I would ask my question that is it the right time or is it the conditions are suitable for the VLNG to work for Pakistan? As one of my colleagues has mentioned, it is very surprising to note that only 28% of the population is connected to the piped gas. But this is freighted with inefficiencies, loss of gas, theft of gas, as well as is limited by the supply side constraints. The current deficit, as mentioned in the previous slide, is around 3 BCFD. But if you look at the projections, this deficit will grow up to 4.7 BCFD by 2030. So looking at the situation from my perspective or the perspective of LNG Flex, that this is an opportunity where LNG Flex or VLNG can play its part. All is not negative, by the way. Importantly, that Pakistan has a very good road network available. It is heartening to note that the regulatory framework is being updated to include VLNG into the LNG policy. And hopefully that will be done very soon because we have had experiences where the port authorities were concerned about that the policy doesn't speak about VLNG and we had issues over there. But still, it is good to see that the process is in the right direction. There have been 4 licenses issued, including ours, and the B2C model, which is a virtual LNG model, ensures that the inefficiencies which are being faced in the piping system and the losses which are being faced in the piping systems are overcome because the VLNG ensures the right quantity, the right quality, and the right amount of gas to the end user. Huge takeoff potential in transport sector, as I've already mentioned, and as one of my colleagues has mentioned while visiting Pakistan, he has seen so many, long range vehicles, and so there is a potential that, and more often, I think you would also appreciate the fact that a lot of businesses have gone out of, existence of the CNG stations. And having this VLNG network, well-established VLNG network, would probably push these investors who have already invested in Pakistan to come back and enter the field of the CNG stations. So, as I said, looking from the perspective of an investor or a private party, I would use the phrase that the early bird gets the worm. So I want to be the early bird to catch this worm so that, if any early entrant at this stage would be able to, secure contracts with good potential customers for the benefit of their business. The drivers for the VLNG business are all showing a positive trend, starting with the escalating demand, as we have seen already established. And most of my respected speakers have already established that the demand will always be there. considering that a country of 240 million people is increasing at a rate of 2.5% every year. So we have the consumers are there. The consumers are there, and they are in need of energy. Energy security is also an essential part of the growth of a country. If you have issues with the energy availability, you forget about the industrial growth of a country. So we need to address that. We are talking about energy security